I
Yeah.
wouldn't tell you bad things because it's good for me. Like, do you think it's career?
Right.
Do you,
Right. Like, why should we sitting on this side?
right? Like, do you think I'm going to get promoted saying, hey, boss, just wanted to let you know, this was a really horrific idea. Like, clearly I'm
Right.
not doing this for myself, because if I was, I'd say, another great idea.
Right.
You did it. But I actually want the best outcome. And then it's like, oh, I kind of hate you for telling me that.
Right,
And so, like,
right.
it's career limiting, to be honest.
Welcome to The Extraordinary Show. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon. With me, as always, my co-host.
Christine Butler.
And today we have a jack of all trades, from marketing to finance. He wants you to know he's a master of none. You can look at his resume. He's got several wins on there. We all know him as the funny guy at the barbecue, turned comedian, and just successful entrepreneur advisor, Jeff Booth. Jeff, thanks for being here, man.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Jeff, you were nominated by myself and Aaron. We met at Startup Week, which was a Phoenix entrepreneurship conference that was being put on. But we like to start every show explaining who nominated you and how you know them. So this would be the time where you talk about how excellent I am.
Great. Yeah, we volunteered together, and just like any volunteer job, it's really fulfilling and rewarding. Like that time when the toilets broke and
Yes.
you plunged it and I got the towels to soak it all up. And that's how everyone knew we were true business leaders, as we cleared out the portable toilet so people could use it. But we had 2,000 people at the event, so I guess we're truly a get shit done kind of crew.
Yeah, you can say that.
We get shit done. Yeah. And then Aaron also nominated you. So how do you know Aaron? What's your relationship with him?
Met Aaron through you, and I think the greatest way I built rapport with Aaron was writing news jokes for the monthly comedy show. And so I don't know that Aaron knows my depth of professional capabilities as much as he knows my ability to write in 30 words or less a funny joke about a headline.
Yeah.
Which I would much rather be known for, frankly, than like raising profit margins by 3.8%.
3.8%. That seems like a number that's burned in your brain. There was some turmoil over that.
Yeah, I can feel that.
There's a story.
It's hard because somebody's like 3.8%. It's like, well, I worked at like $1 billion company. Like, these really matter a lot, but these little things, it's like 3.8%. What were you doing?
And that's one of the 7 highlights on your resume.
Yeah, I have seven total. I've worked professionally for about 18 years. Since I was 22, I'm 40 now. So yeah, there's about one highlight every 2.5 years. That's generally what I'm running.
It's a great pace.
Ratio.
Yeah, it's a great pace.
It's not bad.
We do have a monthly comedy show here in the Valley, Arizona After Dark, and we do the news like you see on Saturday Night Live, Weekend Update, and Jeff writes all the jokes. And what's really interesting about this, and the reason it's extraordinary, in my opinion, is Jeff approaches this hobby just like work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking laminated note cards in sequential order.
You would think he's a teacher, like, an elementary school teacher, all bedazzled and laminated.
You've seen it.
Oh, I know it. I recognize.
It's
and
quite
I
a production.
appreciate.
Yes, for sure. And after the shows, Jeff and I, like every month, we have the same conversation where Jeff's like, how come nobody else is like trying?
Yeah.
Try harder.
It's like one of my 2 or 3 only skills, and they're not really skills or talents. I'm just willing to try harder than everyone else. But I remember the first time I wrote them all on a sheet, and then you guys were holding them. I was like, well, that doesn't work. And so just like it worked, I was like, well, what would I do better? I'm not very crafty, so it's like index cards, but I can't handwrite it. I'll print it. I'll laminate it. Wait, they should be in order. And that's like kind of how my professional life is too.
I
Like,
love it.
I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just like, couldn't it work a different way? Couldn't we do something
that
else?
leads into curiosity.
There you go.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you are so curious to the point where I think it in your career has rubbed people who are so stuck in doing it how it was done the wrong way. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the annoying young child who's like, why? And maybe they're doing it from a point of frustration. I really want to know the answer. I think I know.
Who wants to know.
I think I know the answer. And so, but I'm like, oh, I want to confirm that. So I'm not just going to blurt it out, but I'll keep asking why. And it's not to be annoying, but if you have a hard time explaining yourself, man, that could be really annoying, really frustrating. Or if you're just like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I don't want to know the why. I just want it to happen. Like, that's probably really frustrating to deal with. So, I've realized I'm a good fit at some places. I'm less of a good fit at others.
But you tell it like it is. That's like,
Yeah.
like, how would you describe your brand?
Yeah, I can't help myself but be honest. And sometimes, like, when I'm at my worst, I'm like almost martyring. I'm like, I'll tell you all the things everyone says in the break room. And I'll try to like polish them up and like say it
Nice.
productively.
Yeah.
But I'm like, everyone hates this idea, right? Which is okay. But like, we should have reasons to explain why they shouldn't hate it. And they're like, what do you mean everyone hates this idea? I need names. It's like, well, I'm not a narc, right? I'm not going to tell everyone, but I can assure you through my like anecdotal surveying, everyone hates this plan. And like nobody wants to hear that, right? Especially if you're the executive leader.
Or the guy who came up with the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
The plan maker, the paycheck signer. Like nobody wants to hear that everyone hates your plan.
Right.
But I think it's almost more uncomfortable to pretend that not everyone hates it. I'd rather live in like turmoil of conflict than hiding. Like we all pretend like Stepford, like everything's okay here.
Yeah.
And that's a struggle for me. And so sometimes
You and Christine share that, by the way. Christine is just blunt. Blunt is an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but we mean well. We mean well.
For sure.
I wouldn't tell you bad things because it's good for me. Like, do you think it's career?
Right.
Do you,
Right. Like, why should we sitting on this side?
right? Like, do you think I'm going to get promoted saying, hey, boss, just wanted to let you know, this was a really horrific idea. Like, clearly I'm not doing this for myself because if I was, I'd say, another great idea.
Right.
You did it. But I actually want the best outcome. And then it's like, oh, I kind of hate you for telling me that.
Right,
and so, like, it's career limiting, to be honest.
It's career limiting, to be
is.
honest. That's fascinating. That's a hot take, man.
Yeah, don't avoid the conflict.
Okay. So, like, I read something funny on the internet the other day where it was like, you are way better off just being likable in a corporate environment than being good at your job.
100%.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's, we call it managing up, but managing up is just a nice way of saying, tell your boss all the things they want to hear. And when it doesn't go, find a way to shift blame, move it somewhere else or get it off their plate. And then take ownership of you're the reason it went wrong. Like that's what managing up really means. But it's weird. I found that I bet if you did an employee 360 survey on Jeff Booth, anyone who's C-suite probably has me as like a 2.5 on a 1 to 5 scale.
Okay.
Wow.
But I think most people who've probably worked for me or been on my teams probably has me like a 4.5 or a 5. Like I feel like if we were redrafting teams and you had to pick someone to be in your trench with you, I would be everyone's first pick, or a lot of people's who worked on my teams because like, that guy just cared. He cared more, he tried hard, and he listened to us. But I think executives would be like, man, that guy's got a mouth on him, or that guy just won't shut up, or that guy just doesn't know how to take orders. And it's like, I will take orders. I just want to know the why.
But Jeff, that's what makes you extraordinary. Not everyone is like that. And I think it's a serious trait that most people need.
Well, I'm going to write that down, clip it, put it on my LinkedIn because sometimes, and honestly, it is really by job title. I feel like I do have the hardest time and the best time with C-suite and often entrepreneurs and founders because I will say the things I'm experiencing and why it's hard to work with them or what I'm noticing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, hey, I'm only telling you this out of love, right? Just like
Right.
the coach who yells at me in practice. I'm like, I know you're not yelling at me because you don't believe in me. You just want the best for me.
Right. It's like the time I told you to line up your beard and like you got, and it really worked out for you, Forbes. It's amazing.
You're
So
exactly
I
right.
get it. But I do want to know how you got into that world, into that business. So explain a little bit of your past and how you got there.
Yeah, I've always found a way to stumble myself into rooms I don't belong in.
Yeah.
And whether it's with a piece of information, data, an insight that usually put me into rooms where I was in there with people much higher than me. And it started with, I was a punk 21-year-old kid who the company let me become the GM of a Circuit City. Forbes is probably too young to remember this. But Circuit City was a store like Best Buy. It went out of business like 2 years after making me a GM. So I'm not saying I was the cause, but like we could consider
There
it.
is a correlation.
We could consider it as a potential thing. But there was just a gap. People weren't running the business right. It's like, hey, I could help with that. Hey, I could help with that. And I just continued to help with that. And it just kept putting me into rooms and putting me into positions.
Yeah, you just cared about your craft.
I just cared. I cared about everything,
Yeah.
and I cared about the business, and I always just thought, if I deliver the most business results, then the best things will happen for me.
Yeah.
And now I've realized as I'm older, oh, that's actually not. The best things to happen for you is if you could just care about your own results
Mhm.
and the business be damned.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what rooms do you like to be in?
I love being in C-suites of traditional businesses that have been doing it the same way for a long time.
Mm.
Because you can usually bring them an insight that no one has shared with them before, and they probably know in their heart, but no one has just told them and then backed it up with like real data or real
Mm,
quantitative support.
mm.
And that's my favorite place to be, even though it can sometimes be the most uncomfortable, the most hostile. It can also have the biggest upside.
Absolutely.
Sure. So, would you say that these insights are groundbreaking, or is the groundbreaking thing the fact that someone had the courage to say it?
The groundbreaking thing is just the truth in a
Yeah.
succinct way. I don't think I've ever had a novel idea. I've never said anything like, "Wow, that's brilliant. He did it again." Right? Like a great one was at Harkins. I worked there, and we had a theater that was in a lower income area, and it wasn't performing well, and it wasn't profitable. And they're like, "What should we do?" I said, "Crazy. I think we should lower the price of the movie ticket."
Yeah.
Wild
And it's
idea.
like, no, prices only go up. That's sick. Who would do such a thing? And then we lowered the prices, and then more people came to the movies. And then we're
Right.
at the movies, they bought more snacks, more drinks,
Right.
and then the theater literally went to profitable within 6 months just by lowering the price. And it's not
Mm.
like that's a brilliant idea.
Well, so it's funny that because this is also part of your comedy too. Like you guys should follow. Jeff has a NFL newsletter where he
Mhm.
writes every week. It's very funny. It's like pop culture. He'll give you betting lines. He knows his football. And in the green room before. I was like, he has a popular, like an NFL blog.
Mhm.
And Jeff immediately goes to popular is a stretch, right? Like you are constantly like um, humbling yourself in a way. That's something I've noticed. Why do you think you do that?
I think I'm so allergic and have such an aversion to people who push themselves up so much because so many times that's turned out to be fraudulent
Mm,
in very public ways, whether it's like
Right.
Theranos or,
yeah.
FTX and all these stories. It's like the people who have the most hype around them, often there's a reason, right? That hype is protecting something.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I figure if I just air all my dirty laundry out up front, then it'll be like undersell, over delivery. Like,
Yeah.
this guy said he was average. Turns out he's actually like kind of good. And you're like shockingly surprised and excited. But it's funny, if you ask me in a room, like how to evaluate myself, very self deprecating. But it's funny. I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm that good of a consultant. I don't think I'm that helpful. And they're like, well, here's my consultant now. And I meet someone and I hear just the craziness coming out of their mouth. I'm like, oh, actually, I'd like to restructure. I'm actually the greatest consultant who's ever lived. Because if you think that's good, you're gonna love whatever I
You're
say.
gonna love me.
But that's how I feel. Like I'm like, I'm okay. I really say basic things that I think everyone should observe.
Mm.
But then when I meet who's doing it now, I was like, never mind, scratch that. I am the Michael Jordan of consulting, if that guy is any good.
So what I'm hearing is your standard for yourself is so high that average in your book is head and shoulders above other people. And
Yeah.
that goes all the way full circle to how you prepare
Mhm.
news jokes. You're like, I'm doing the bare minimum. And then we watch a comic get up there who's clearly working on a bit that they haven't thought about for
Yeah.
more than 5 minutes. Right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I never want to embarrass myself as part of it. So there's a little pride. But the other piece of it is I think of a lot in this culture. There's so many other things you could do than listen to me. Like there's so many other ways to spend your time. We've got a rack of books, you've got the
Mhm.
world in your phone, you know so many people. So I'm like, if you're gonna give me 5 minutes for a joke or
Mhm.
10 minutes for a presentation or 30 minutes for a job interview, like I need to make it the best possible because your time's so valuable. And so that for me is
Mm.
I want them to walk away, even if I'm not the right fit or it's not the right joke. They're like, hey, that guy left it all on the field. He tried his best.
Mm.
You have a similar story with Rob Schneider, right? Going on stage.
Yeah, he he's the guy who taught me that you always come correct, right? Like he put it into perspective. This woman at a meet and greet after the show came up to him and gave him a hug and said, "You were my Christmas gift." And it was like, whoa. Like then all of a sudden you're doing the math on the tickets, the dinner, the parking, or the Uber or the babysitter, and you realize that there's 90 minutes they spent maybe their month's disposable income on, and you gotta give a shit.
Gotta deliver. That's
Yeah,
a big deal.
yeah,
Big deal.
right. When people trust you with their time and their money, it's really, the responsibility, I think, is kind of the theme that we're circling here, you
Absolutely.
know?
And even with ghostwriting,
For
right? You're
sure.
telling someone's story that is so personal. You
Yeah.
can't fuck it up.
Well, you've learned that, like, I know from working with Christine and writing books, people will tell you stuff they won't tell their priest, they
Yeah.
won't tell their partner, and they're, like, giving you their they're giving you the keys to their legacy.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage that responsibility?
I look at it objectively and I kind of have to step away from it and not let it get so personal in my heart and just say, okay, this is what the world wants and you deserve
Mm,
to be shared in this way. And sometimes the person that I'm writing the book for might uh, be a little bit off put by me putting their drama or the trauma in it. But I
mhm.
think that it's really necessary sometimes and just being really careful with their gold, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the airing the dirty laundry thing, right? Like Aaron's really helped me take my writing to the next level with that idea. Like there's the 8 Mile rap scene where Eminem goes ahead and just disses himself. And he says
Right.
all the things that he knows this guy's going to say. Yeah. And I do live in a trailer with my mom.
Tell these people something they don't know about me.
Yeah, exactly. You think that putting your flaws out there would make people like you less. But the weird thing is, it makes people like you more.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we have going on with you, right? Like, I think you're so humble and you're so honest. People relate to jokes when they're honest.
Agreed,
Mhm.
relatability. But you guys both used really good examples, and I can't stop thinking about it now you said it. You mentioned the comedy, and they get a hug, a personal hug to the person delivered. You're the ghostwriter. They know you, they see you face to face. I think that's the gap in so many large companies because there's no face. It's a product, right? You make
Mm,
a bag of Cheerios, you make a coffee. The CEO is not seeing that and feeling that, and so they become detached from their customers. Nobody cares about their customers anymore. That's a broad state, but that's how I feel when I get into a business. I'm like, imagine you're on the other side and you bought this. Are you excited about that experience,
Mm.
mm,
or do you hate it? And so both
mm.
the examples you gave, you're seeing it live, but when you're, working at a PetSmart, a Sprout, you're not there
Yeah.
every day. And so you get disconnected from it. And I think that's a huge gap. And so I think caring about your customer, like you guys are talking about, is just the real magic.
So how do you help leaders reconnect to their customer?
Usually, it's a little bit of a shock and awe story.
Yeah.
You
Uh-huh.
start with like, "I shopped the store and this is what it looked like." Retail is just a good example. You take some pictures,
Mm.
you show the product, it's damaged, you go to check out, it's a long wait, and objectively, that's really bad. It's like this every time I go in here,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Mm,
but in our best, it could be, and you just start finding ways to talk yourself out of it,
mm.
but it's hard because those don't show up on the P&L because you don't know what you've lost or the frustration you've caused. But what you do know is, oh, labor hours. You can pare back labor hours,
Right.
but you don't realize the impact that made. And so when you operate off a spreadsheet without kind of that visual observation or talking to the customers every day, you get disconnected, right? You
Mhm.
you don't surprise and delight. You don't get people
Yeah.
excited. You don't make people excited to spend their only disposable income for the month
Yeah.
on your one show.
Is there an example that you point to for other leaders to say, like, this company does customer service really well?
Sadly, no, a good example, and people talk about this one a lot, is Chewy, Chewy.com.
Yeah.
And PetSmart acquired them.
Mhm.
PetSmart couldn't build an e-commerce business, so they bought Chewy. But one of the things they did was don't touch Chewy. It was like,
Really?
maybe you can give them a little support, but you stay out of their way because Chewy is
Mm,
something special. And the thing they talk about is if you have a dog food subscription and you send a bag and they're like, hey, my dog passed away. I don't need this bag. And they're like, great. I'm very sorry for that. Go donate that. And we're so sad to hear about your pet passing. They write a handwritten card. And they're
mm,
like, we don't know if you're going to get another pet. If it is, come to
mhm,
us, but like, we'll help you. But we just care so much because we know what it's like to lose a pet because everyone's
mhm.
pet person. And they write
Mhm.
that, they refund it, and they're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
And so that's something where you talk about it's an e-commerce business. It'd be so easy just to send it and like just be done with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But they go above and beyond to say, "Oh my gosh, we're sorry for this loss." Handwritten cards from the team and things
Mm,
like that. So
mhm.
I think that's a really good example of a really large brand, couple $1 billion in revenue, still caring about. Wow, when a person loses a pet, like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, as it relates to Jeff Booth, at the at the intro, I made some jokes about, jack of all trades, master of none, but you really are dialed in. Like, what's the best way for people to engage with you? Like, what are you known for at these different companies that you've mentioned where you've just been in the C-suite, just being the guy, the court jester almost, right? Like, that's the first stand-up comedian was the court jester because he could go in front of the king and say all the stuff the town people was saying, and he did it in a funny way. Unless he went over the line, and then he had his head cut off, But like that's like how that came to be.
Yeah, I've been laid off a couple times, so I would call that like the modern head cut off. Yeah, I think it starts with just don't take anything that seriously in a lot of ways. So give a tongue-in-cheek experience. This was a very real debate that happened at a movie theater company I worked at, Harkins, and we wanted to push more online ticketing. But a senior leader said, I think part of the movie experience is waiting in line. That's part of the excitement. And I said, I don't want to be rude, but have you ever been excited to wait? Have you ever been like, I hope there's a big line at this restaurant so I can really build up the inertia of a delicious meal? Or like, man, it's really convenient how I have to give 6 hours to see this 2-hour movie because I have to show up so early.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said that? Have you ever felt that way? And I always try to like put it back at them and say it in like a joking way. And some people get really offended, like, whoa, don't talk to me like that. Or some people are like, yeah, actually, that's terrible. I never want to wait in line. I was like, good. Why would we do it to other people then? Right.
Right.
And so I try to take that approach, but oftentimes I come off like I'm very improv or tongue in cheek and just joking around, but I did all my homework before.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not rehearsed or scripted or forcing you through a slide deck or numbers, I spent 8 hours studying to have a 10-minute conversation because I've tried to think about every question you might ask, every angle, memorize the key data points. And like, I've put in the work to have that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel confident doing it and rattling things off the top of my head, not because I've obtained all this and I can reference it. I prepared, I practiced really hard. And that's why I think I've earned the right to maybe say some of these things.
Oh, earn the right. I put in the work to have that 10 minutes. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
right?
a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
That's it.
And respect too.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm not just talking out of my butt.
That's
here.
exactly. I didn't come in here just to rattle off these things like my aunt said this was done, and we call them shower thoughts. Like I've heard the number of huge decisions I've made off shower thoughts. And like I've seen companies change policy because they're like, my wife didn't care for this. And I was like, is your wife our target customer?
Yeah.
And if she is, super, let's bring her in and let's talk. But it's like, well, no, she just didn't care for it. It's like, wow, okay. Like my wife thought it was great. Are we even now?
Yeah.
And it turns out that's a bad way to make decisions.
It's not probably the best way out.
But it's hard because you still want that anecdotal, but you want to tie it to reality.
Yeah.
So tying to reality is something that we do in business, in writing, and in comedy, right? Like it doesn't matter unless it has a point, So like what's your focus? How has that played a role of tying into reality? And what's something that people listening to the podcast can do to help tie their stuff into reality more?
The tie to reality is such a big deal because I think it's the biggest gap at the senior level because it's usually after you've spent a long career and you don't remember that first job. You don't remember that frontline job. And now you're so busy with other things. It's not wrong. You just don't have exposure to it. But you're often making large strategic decisions that impact that line level. So it's almost crazy to think you're doing that with no connection to them. But you have to think of all the layers of management that go up. And that's a game of telephone.
Yeah.
Who's actually hearing from that and getting that message to the top? Because often we're like, oh, it's easy. It's always this younger generation doesn't work hard, right? Nobody asks the question of like, did we not give them the tools to work hard? Did we not tell them about this? And so I think anchoring to reality is just such a big deal. And one of the ways I try to do it is, if you're talking about something, a retail store is just the best example because you can go shop it yourself. You can take pictures, you can record your video, you can invite the C-suite, like, hey, let's just go do this. Let's not tell anyone let's just go do this ourselves and see how it goes, right? I'm not telling you to quit your job and do this full time, but if you just spent an hour in someone else's shoes, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's harder. That's harder. Oh, we don't even account for this. Look at all these things they do that aren't
Mm,
written down.
mm-hmm.
You start to uncover all these observations, but it only works when you go to do their job.
Mm,
It's easy to be from afar and say,
Yeah.
everything's fine down there.
Yeah.
mm,
Right.
Perspectives,
mhm,
everything.
Right.
mhm,
And the best way to do it is to go sit with somebody doing it, do it yourself, and just ask a few questions.
mm,
Ask a few questions. That's all
Right.
it takes.
It's
mhm.
not that hard.
Yeah, curiosity. Christine, how do you tie your work into reality?
I don't think about it.
What does that mean?
I just do it. I just embody. I'm in this like era of my life where I'm just doing and I'm embodying and I mean well. My intentions are good. And so I'm just going to lay everything out on the table as is.
Mm,
And I think by just being human, people relate to that.
mm,
Just by just doing and not overthinking, people relate.
mm.
Because it's
Yeah.
coming from a place of authenticity, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Authenticity and being more human. Be more human is a big thesis of extraordinary. Like we are talking about stories with extraordinary humans. And as we've seen the rise of different exponential technologies, we know that being human, particularly around communication and curiosity, is going to be paramount in the future. Like that's kind of when Aaron and I talk about exponential theory in the book that we wrote. The biggest thing that we learned since that book came out 6 years ago is, oh, wow, we didn't realize how important human communication was going to be. And so, Jeff, what does it mean to you to be more human?
I think it's having just sharing your tangible thoughts and feelings and not putting it through, the gonculator, whatever your
Okay.
chat GPT. Don't
Yeah.
normalize everything or don't write this in a different tone or make me sound more professional. There are times where maybe it's a legal document, maybe it's a formal
Mm,
email, but just give me very real feelings of, oh, I didn't like this. This was difficult. I didn't understand it. Why do you do this? Those are all very like normal human questions, but just say them and have a conversation. You don't have to put it through, ChatGPT and say, formalize this, make it a proposal, make it a 10-page proposal, and
mm,
inject all these things that mute the message,
mm,
right? I
mhm,
think the human part is just telling you as quickly and directly as possible. Try not to offend, obviously, a little
Right.
bit of courtesy
mhm,
there. But when you start putting it through these other systems, I feel like it just gets watered down. There's more
mm,
words for the sake of words. And
mm.
I guess it does sound less professional, but it's also less helpful
Yeah.
because it's not clear what
Yeah.
your
Mhm.
real message
Yeah. Well, and
is.
there's no soul in it. Right. I mean, I think that's the common thing is that you feel it feels soulless. Anything that kind of gets around through chat, you got to make it human again. At least that's what I found in my work.
Yeah, or just using it not to do it for you, but as a partner
Yeah.
in it, like
Hey, I was thinking about this. How would you think about it? And then you still type and write your own
Right.
words.
right.
They're still your words. And if there's a nugget or a clip that's really great, fine, use it in there, but they should largely be your words. And my favorite is, and I've heard this from, senior leaders, like, you can't even tell, I put this through AI, can you? I was like,
Yes, yeah.
immediately. I
Yes, yeah.
10 seconds in, I could tell this was not written by a human being or someone who even knew much about the topic. I could
Right.
tell this was just the first 20 pages of Google summarized together and jammed down my throat. And they're like, you can't even tell. I was like, if you don't read it, I guess, because it
Yeah.
looks real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second you read a couple lines, you're like, oh, no person would ever say this or
Yeah.
speak like this.
AI
Yeah.
ruined the M dash for us writers.
I know.
I love the M dash.
Yeah.
It was such a sophisticated, beautiful piece of grammar that like made my writing stand out.
It'll
And
come back.
now I can't even use it because now they just think, oh, this is AI. Um, with that, something that I've found success with AI, is taking what I write, like I'll write an essay and I'll upload it into my AI and I'll be like, tell me what this is actually about. And it does a phenomenal job. Like, and it kind of blows me away. It's like, oh, well, this is about a wound you're healing from childhood. And I was like, damn, all right, okay, it's not that deep, like it's a dating joke, Um,
Yeah.
but like, I think what's just going to be more important is just being creative and using it.
Mhm.
Like you can. It doesn't change the fact that you can get it done faster. You still have to earn that 10 minutes, like you said. You know, I want to focus on your writing because you published a blog every week in the NFL season, which is no small feat. Like that's a habit.
Mhm.
And I know that you like calculated the words that you did, and I like when you said it to me, I was like, dude, you wrote a book this year, just in NFL blogs. How do you know something's ready to ship?
That's a good one.
Never. It's never ready to ship. I've never written anything and then looked at it even 5 hours later and be like, that's great. I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's me.
We got to rewrite all of this.
Yeah.
It's all crap. And my wife will be like, I thought it was good. And maybe a couple of people text me like, oh, that was really funny. And I was like, well, I'll keep that part then. But the rest of it is certainly crap. I would rewrite my own work constantly if you let me. At some point, you have to have like a minimum viable product. 'Cause I'm a product builder. And so you think, all right, is this get the message across? Does this deliver the value? And it's that fine line of you don't want to ship something that's messy and not worth people's time. But if you hold it and try to get everything to perfection, you'll never put anything out. And so how do you walk that line? And I feel like I struggle with it even for a silly little football blog that I send to my friends and, friends of friends that go out. Like I said, I'll write it and then I'll try to sit on it and review it once, but I know I can't keep doing it. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
the grammar's correct. You have a few things that you think will be funny. It's casually entertaining. It must go. It must go so I can write the next thing. And I hope the next thing is a little better. And I just try to keep doing that because I'm not like a formally trained writer or anything. I didn't go to school for that. I've just put down enough words where I'm starting to feel like I could call myself maybe a little bit of a writer.
So now take that experience and relate it to your work as a product executive and a product consultant. How do you help product teams ship?
Yeah, that is the wrestle with because you're like, gosh, we have got to get this out there immediately. And then you're like, would you be happy with this as a user? Does it do something for you? It doesn't need to be perfect, but the thing you promised, can it do that part perfect? Even if it's rough around the edges. I always go to, is there enough ROI even with the rough edges? You're like, it was still worth it. Oh, this wasn't the best experience, but the outcome made it worth it, right? It's if you get invited to a beta of a product or you go to a new store opening, you're like, all right, this was still worth it. I would come back. I can tell where they're trying to figure things out and trying to push teams to do that. But the product world is all iterative. Get it out so you could get feedback. And if you screwed up, what's great about software is you just fix it.
Yeah.
You just fix it, right? It's not like building a house or a building. There's a little more risk to that. But product, if you built something and you're like, we really hated this. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you hate most about it? You fix it. You ship it again, and then you do the human thing. You say, we're really sorry. We thought this was going to go well because of this and this. You showed us why. We fixed it. We'll be back again next week to fix it again
Yeah.
and fix it again. And all of a sudden, they just start trusting the solutions you're putting out. And they start trusting you because you heard them, you reacted to it quickly, and you fixed it. But what I have found is that users or customers are really good at highlighting the problems. They're really bad at coming up with the solutions. Right? They'll tell you how to solve it, and it's almost always the wrong way. And Forbes, I think you experienced this in joke writing. When people are like, oh, that wasn't that funny or I didn't get it, they're usually right. But when they're like, you should add, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's actually not the way we're going to solve this problem. It's the same with software.
Yeah. Like, I'm much more open to feedback when it points out a problem that I can address than someone saying, this is how I would have done it.
Right.
Like because then that's interesting. Like, why do you think that is? Like, is that my ego? Like, what is that? And do you see that in other product leaders?
Yeah, the end users are often bad at solving the problem because they don't have the context. They're solving their unique situation for them. As a product leader, I have 100,000 users on the platform. So I can't just take your feedback. I have to kind of average it across everyone and find ways to solve problems for larger groups of people. It doesn't always have to be all 100,000, but it's like, this would solve the problem for 25,000. Okay, that's probably enough. But then you ask, would it alienate the other 75,000?
Yeah.
If it would, not a good idea. And you have this context of seeing how other people use it. And I think that's why people are bad at solving problems for the bigger group because they're just thinking about themselves. They haven't put in the time, right? They haven't put in the time to understand everyone on there. And that's okay. That's not their job. But they're so good at highlighting the problems. They're usually on it very quickly and they're on why it's a problem. Just the solve is usually just for them. And I'm like, well, I got to solve for everybody. And those are the hardest customer conversations to have because you have to let them know, I've heard you. You're exactly right. I appreciate your recommended solution. We're probably going to go a little bit differently because we have to solve this for a different group, but we're hearing you and we're going to improve it.
So it's a transparency that you need to have to foster those relationships.
I think so, because it sets the expectations. You're like, oh, are you going to fix this? Yes.
Yeah.
That means you're going to fix it the way I want it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we're going to fix the problem, but it might be a little different. And telling people that kind of realigns their expectations. Okay, they're going to address this for me, even if it's
Right.
not.
And a lot of people just want to be heard most of the time, right? They just want to be heard.
That's so true.
The number of customers we've retained at some of these software businesses just by getting on the phone, they're like, you're the only vendor who gets on the phone with us
Exactly.
and shows us mock-ups of what you're talking about. And I'm in there furiously scribbling notes. And they're like, oh, you cared. Like they could tell we care. And that buys us time.
Yes.
Right? They're like,
Right.
we're not going to churn and go shop you because who else is going to listen to us, take notes, and come back? And even when you tell them bad news, hey, the roadmap's really busy. Here's some other things we're
Yeah.
working on. It'll be like 6 months before we get to this. They're like, the problem actually wasn't that big. Like it's an annoyance, but we can work through it. And like helping quantify that really makes an impact.
Yeah. Do you enjoy what you do, Jeff?
I do. The problem is I love all of it. Like you could just drop me into any large enterprise and they're like, all right, you're going to go to HR. Great. Oh, we need help in finance. Sounds awesome. Can you work on the product? Yeah, great. Let's do that too.
Yeah.
And I just can geek out over all of it and want to get to the bottom of it. So I like all the parts of it. And so when someone talks to me, they're like, I don't know if this guy's really good at anything. And I'm like, I'm not really good at anything, but I have the context of all of these things. And so there's some value there, but it's tough. You get stuck in purgatory a little bit because you're not specialized in this one thing.
Right. Well, and then how does that drive your future? Like, where do you want to be in the next 5-10 years?
So it kind of messes with it. I've got myself in what I think is a little bit of a career like purgatory where I've got to break through the next wall because I think if you really wanted like a COO or an executive leader, you want them to have this well-rounded experience. You want them to see everything. But what do you promote? Whoever's the greatest at this one thing, you keep promoting that. You don't promote these generalists, you promote the experts.
Yeah.
But then when they get there, they struggle because they have this very narrow experience. But the generalist never promotes because they're not the best at one thing. And so
vicious cycle.
it gets in a weird spot. And so right now I'm stuck at what I'd call like that middle management, director, VP level jobs, maybe like VP at a smaller company, manager, director at a very large company. Even though a lot of what I've done, I've taken on a lot of executive level responsibilities. I've just never had that title. I've never had EO, OO, any of those. And so trying to tell somebody you can do that, even though you haven't had it before, they really struggle with that. So I'm kind of in this, a little bit of career purgatory of how do I demonstrate that? Because I really like leading teams. I really like having a picture of how everything works together and connecting those dots.
Yeah.
I think that's my strength. But it's hard to tell people when you're not in their company how that's your strength. They need to see it.
Yeah.
So coming up with ways to show that to them, really hard.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you do that?
Go on podcasts like this, have lots of conversations, try to explain.
Saying it out loud.
Try to explain and articulate a point of view, right? And writing it down forces you to have a point of view. You can't meander, you can't hem and haw or hope it just gets to the finish line.
Yeah.
When you write it, like, how would I say this if I only had one bullet? If I only had 2 bullets, and it forces you to get to an answer.
Yeah, and to have a take, to have a point of view, like that's
a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It is.
People avoid it.
Yes. People underestimate it. Like you're putting yourself out there. You're vulnerable because you can be wrong.
Yeah.
If you never say anything, you can always be right.
Yeah. You're
right?
never wrong.
You can always find your way there. And I find that's what happens as you kind of climb the ladder a little bit because you don't need to go any higher. You don't take any risks. You don't have to have a point of view. The goal is just to survive and just keep holding on. And so you just keep muting your viewpoints until you just get to this average and you just produce average because that's kind of what the system makes you do.
Yeah.
So one question we ask everyone that comes on this podcast, one piece of advice to our listeners that could help them be more extraordinary.
Do just a little bit more. And that sounds silly, but the bar is so low. So a great example, I think, and I'm teaching a class at GCU now, so I have a lot of freshmen who are like, what do we do in these job interviews? I'm like, well, what'd you do to prepare for it? They're like, well, I read the job description. I'm like, pretty good. It's a good start. I hope you did that. Anything else? And they're like, I saw the website. I was like, did you click all the links on the website? They're like, no. It's like, did the little chat bubble asking for help pop up? Did you go through it? Those little things of just what sets me apart, like that's 10 minutes of work. And I've gone to interviews, I've gone to things where like, oh my gosh, you know so much about our company. Did you spend hours doing this? It's like, no, just 10 minutes.
Right.
You'd be amazed at what just 10 minutes of focused care,
Yeah.
just a little bit, right? But almost no one will take that time. And it's
Mm.
so silly because it's the most basic thing, but like just a little extra time. Did you go to page 2 of Google? Did you ask ChatGPT a second question?
Yeah.
Right? Did you call the one person you know who works in that industry and have a 5-minute conversation? Like, it is not these huge time commitments, huge investments, but just
Mm.
doing that like little more jumps you from like, you know, the 50th percentile to the 90th percentile.
Just care a little.
Just
It's
a little
cool to
bit.
care.
It's cool to care, and it's a path
Caring
to
is cool.
extraordinary. Caring is cool, and you'd be amazed what 10 minutes of focused care can do for you. You can read more about Jeff Booth at joinextraordinary.com, joinextraordinary.com. I'm Forbes Shannon.
Christine Butler.
Jeff Booth, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks a lot
Thanks
for
so
having me. I
much.
appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun. We will see you next time on Extraordinary.